Alright, so in this video you are going to see how to use trigonometry to solve for missing sides of a triangle. And so for all my examples I need SOHCAHTOA because I need to decide which trig function I'm going to use. Remember, S is for sine, opposite over hypotenuse, C is for cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, and T is for tangent, opposite over adjacent. So for example 1, they're asking me to find side AB. So AB is going to be my x value. It's what I'm trying to find. So I'm going to label that side with x. And since 2 of my sides have either a letter or a number, I'm going to identify those 2 sides as either opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. So if you notice, besides the 90-degree angle, the only other angle they give me is the 40 degrees, which is angle C. So that means I'm working with this angle, angle C. So I'm just going to mark it. And so based on angle C, I'm going to determine opposite side, opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So opposite from that 40-degree angle is my x. So this is my O, opposite. So I'm going to label this with O, for opposite side. The 10 is right next to the angle C, so that would be my adjacent side. So I'm going to label that 10 with an A for adjacent. They don't give me anything for the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to label that. I just need O and A. And so now I'm going to look at my 3 functions. The one that has O and A is this last one, TOA. So I'm using the function tangent to solve this problem. So tangent of angle C is what I need. That's going to be given by opposite over adjacent. So that's the equation that I need. I'm going to replace my letters with the numbers that I have. So I have tangent of angle C, which is 40 degrees. So I'm going to replace C with 40 degrees, equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 10. And so now I'm going to solve that equation for x. So I need to get x by itself, and it's not by itself because I have a 10. So remember, I'm going to do the opposite operation so I can undo this 10, get rid of the 10. So if you remember, this little bar means division. Opposite of division is multiplication. So to get rid of that 10, I'm going to multiply by 10. So times 10. And so that's going to cancel that out. And remember, what I do on one side, I gotta do to the other side of the equation. So this left side, I'm also going to multiply it by 10. So now I have 10 times the tangent of 40. I'm just gonna write that out. Equals x. So x is already by itself. I just gotta figure out what this is as a decimal. So this part I can type into the calculator. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you go to your calculators, if you go to the scratch pad, calculate, here's where you're going to type that in there. But before I do that, I want you to go back to your home screen, and you have to make sure that your calculator setting is in degree mode. So you're going to go to where it says settings, option 5. Then you're going to click where it says document settings, option 2. And right here where it says angle, if it says radian or gradient, I need you to change that to degree. So once you select degree, I want you to select make default and then hit OK. Make sure you do that every time, because sometimes students will go in there and they will change it, or sometimes accidentally when they drop it, it changes it. And so you need to make sure it's in degree mode, or all your answers are going to be wrong. So once it's in degree mode, you can go back to your scratch pad to calculate, And in here, I'm going to type 10 times the tangent of 40. So 10 times, and then to get my tangent, I'm going to go to this button right here next to the 7 that says trig, and I'm going to select tangent. Make sure you select the right one, tangent, without the little -1 on top. That's for later. We'll learn about that next week. You're going to select this one, tangent, and then the angle is 40 degrees. So I'm going to type 40 inside the parentheses, and then I can hit enter, and it's 8.391. We are going to round to the nearest hundred, so that means 2 numbers after your decimal, so 8.39. So here my x value is 8.39. And that's it, you're done. So let's look at this next example, example 2. In example 2, they're asking me to find the length of EF. EF is this side right here, so I'm going to label the side with an X. That's what I'm trying to find. Now they're giving me angle D with 38 degrees, so that means I'm working with angle D. That X that I labeled is opposite from angle D, it's on the opposite side, so the X is going to be my O, my opposite side. And the 15 is the longest side of my triangle, is opposite from that right angle, so that has to be the hypotenuse. So I'm going to label the 15 with an H for hypotenuse. And so now that I label those two, I can determine which trig function I'm using. I have O and H, and so that's the first part. So the sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so now I'm using sine. So I'm going to highlight that. For this problem, I need to use sine. So I'm going to do the same thing. Sine of angle D is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, and I'm going to take my numbers and replace those letters. So I have sine of 38 degrees equals opposite, which is X, over hypotenuse, which is 15. Okay, so same thing, I have to get X by itself, so I'm going to do the same thing I did on the previous example. I need to get rid of that 15, so I'm going to multiply by 15 so it could cancel out, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Multiply by 15, and so now X is by itself. I have 15 times the sine of 38 degrees. So I get to type that into my calculator, same way that I did the previous one. So 15 times, this time I'm using sine of 38, and I'm rounding to the nearest hundred, so that's 9.23. So here 9.23 is my final answer. Alright, so next two examples. Example 3. Now I'm finding JL. So here's JL. That means this is my X. And they're giving me angle J. They're telling me it's 52 degrees. So based on this angle, I'm going to label my given side. So they gave me a 9. That's right next to my 52 degree angle. So that's adjacent. So I'm going to label that with A. And then the X is opposite from the 90 degree angle. It's the longest side. So that has to be the hypotenuse. I'm going to label that with H. So now I have A and I have H. So the trig function that I'm using this time is the middle one, cosine, A and H. I'm going to highlight that one. Right, so one more time. My formula is cosine of angle J equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And I'm replacing all those letters with the numbers in my picture. So I have cosine of 52 degrees equals adjacent, which is 9, over hypotenuse, which is x. Okay, so if you notice, now I have the x on the bottom. It's no longer on top like it was in the previous two examples, so this is going to be a little bit different. So I still want to get x by itself, but it's going to require 2 steps instead of just 1. So I need to get x by itself. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to get rid of that fraction, that 9 over x. So this time I'm going to do the same process I did here. I'm going to cancel the bottom, I'm going to cancel the denominator. So in the bottom I have x. So I'm going to multiply by x just so I can get rid of the fraction. That's gone. And so whatever you do one side, you do to the other side. So I'm going to come on this side, multiply by x. And so now I have x cosine of 52 equals 9. X is not by itself, so I'm not done. I just wanted to get rid of the fraction. Got rid of the fraction. X is now on the left side, so now I gotta get rid of the cosine of 52 so that x can be by itself. So remember, there's a multiplication sign right there. Opposite of multiplication is division. So to get rid of the cosine of 52, I am going to divide by the cosine of 52. And so that cancels that out. And again, whatever you do on one side, you gotta do to the other side. So I'm gonna divide the 9 by the cosine of 52. And so now I'm gonna have x. Here I have x by itself, and I'm just gonna type this into my calculator. 9 divided by cosine of 52. So now it's division. 9 divided by cosine of 52, and that gives me 14.6184. I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth, so it's 14.62 because that 8 right there is bigger than 5, so I'm rounding up. So 14.62. So my x value is 14.62. And then one more example, and we're done. So last example, they're asking me to find wy. So here's my x value. They're giving me angle W is 64 degrees. So opposite from that angle, I have the 22. So that 22 is the opposite side, is the O. The x is right next to the W. It's not the hypotenuse. That means this has to be the adjacent. So this is A. So O and A, which one am I using? Tangent. That one has O and A. So I'm using tangent. Tangent of angle W equals opposite over adjacent. So I'm replacing my letters with my numbers now. So tangent of angle W, which is 64 degrees, equals opposite, which is 22, over adjacent, which is x. Same thing, right? I have an x in the bottom, so multiply by x so I can get rid of that fraction. Do the same thing on the left side. So now I have x times the tangent of 64 equals 22. Remember, I'm not done. I'm trying to get x by itself. So I gotta get rid of this. So opposite of multiplication, division. So I'm gonna divide by the tangent of 64. Cancels out. Gotta do it on both sides. And so this is going to give me my answer. I'm going to divide 22 divided by tangent of 64 in the calculator. 22 divided by tangent of 64, 10.73. So my final answer for example 4 is 10.73. And then that's my final answer.